What is up, Jabronis? JJ back here with a few extra members. I'm so used to doing this show solo that it is nice to have some company. Big T and the newbie of the team, Allie McCann, also known as Allie Mac Can. So we'll talk a little DFS. We'll talk through some bets as always, and then Allie's actually going to give out a play she likes as well. Allie, everybody's seen Big T already. You're kind of new to many. Why don't you intro yourself a little bit? Tell us a little about yourself.
Yeah, so super pumped to be joining you this morning. Some college football. Also super pumped to be a part of the Run Pure team. Really enjoyed the warm welcome on Twitter. So thanks to everyone for that. But I just started here. I have a career in broadcast journalism, like I mentioned in my video over on Twitter. Big sports fan in general. I love baseball. Obviously, I'm a huge college football fan. Penn State football fan, but yeah.
You come rocking with the jersey. Is that number one?
Yes. So I tried looking for my Derek Williams jersey, couldn't find it. So we're rocking Justin King this morning.
Big T, imagine having a cornerback jersey for Penn State. I mean, that's got to be up there.
I don't even know who Justin King is. I'm not scared to say. I mean, who is this Justin King?
So Justin King was around when I was little. I just inherited the jersey from my brother, I have to say.
That's our so 20. I'm pulling it up here. I got to see. You knew who this was, Dunkel, without looking it up?
No, I didn't.
You said no.
Not
because when you said it, I was impressed. You were rocking like his stats and talking about it. I was like, how the hell did Dunkel know this? No. And I admitted it, but you just came out and admitted it too. We didn't know who it was.
Yeah. So, folks in the chat, obviously a little different today. Feel free to even ask some DFS questions. I know I don't normally cover DFS, but Tony's well prepared to talk.
Oh, Justin King's old. I'm looking this up still here. He's like almost he was born in 87. Allie had to be born in what? 97? How what 96. Year were you? 96. Yeah, that was a good guess by me.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, I got the DFS ready, though. You guys got the winners for them. I got some DFS if anyone has questions.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that so we can do this a few different ways. I think I'll start off with the two plays I like, and I guess I could go right into them myself. So at 3:30 today, Ohio State plays Purdue. The line is, I think current line is Ohio State minus 20.5 total. What, about 64-ish? I'm trying to look at what the live number is. Total 65. Yeah, I really like, believe it or not, Ohio State in this spot. And I'm not one to talk on big favorites like this. My favorite bet here, though, is Ohio State over their team total. It's 42.5. I got that minus 105 at DraftKings here in Jersey. For me, this is all about how Purdue is going to speed this team up. Ohio State's one of the most efficient offenses in D1, goes without saying. Purdue's defense, look, Purdue had a great win last week against Michigan State, and credit to them for it. But Purdue gives up points in bunches, and they play so fast. And one thing about Ohio State in this offense over the last few years is they are very happy to play fast with teams who want to run. Ohio State's tempo isn't like super fast, but the fact that Purdue will speed them up, I think, goes a long way. Ohio State's got to have some marquee wins in a big way. I mean, they don't want to be trampled by other teams, towards their national title bid. So I think this is a spot where they just consistently put up points on the board against this Purdue squad. And Purdue may hang in the number. I don't know. But for Purdue to hang in the number, they're going to have to score a lot of points against a really good defense, the best defense they've seen all season. So, yeah, I think that you might look at it and say, oh, this is a big number for Purdue. But all in all, I think Ohio State runs up and down the field against this team. So 42.5, big number, but really like the spot. Ohio State is no stranger to hanging in the 40s. So really like the spot. Tony, what's your thoughts there as it relates to DFS and Ohio State Purdue today?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, just the game. I mean, Purdue was like a 2-point dog. Who was the two upsets? They beat Iowa and they beat Wisconsin or something. Two bad Big Ten teams. Who, if it wasn't those two, then it was two similar teams. But they were like a 2-point dog both those games, and now they're catching 20 to Ohio State, which tells you how much better Ohio State is than the rest of the conference. But DFS-wise, I mean, there's a lot of cheap quarterbacks today, and C.J. Stroud, who doesn't run, is super expensive. and they priced up what's the dude with the Smith and the JSN, I call him, but they priced him up. Olave and Garrett Wilson are super cheap, so you can get a full stack here. Stroud with 2 receivers, not that expensive and low owned, I think. I mean, maybe one of them it ends up getting a little bit of ownership, but these guys are going to crush, like Dunkel said. It's one of my favorite contrarian stacks of the day, which is crazy to say because it's one of the best offenses in the country. It's some of the best players in the country. I mean, 3 good receivers. And you can run it back with David Bell is cheap. Even if Purdue doesn't score a bunch of points, I mean, David Bell's 6,700 on DraftKings. Great play to run it back with that stack. And this Jackson Anthrop's been getting goal line carries, all kinds of work for 4,200. So I think it's a great game stack. I'm with Dunkel, though. I think they score a lot of points. I think Purdue can score, but they're not going to be able to slow down Ohio State. So perfect game stack. I'm with Dunkel on the over. Nice to start the show with a little symmetry here.
So I think, Tony, as far as it relates to a run back, because I do think Purdue's going to score some points today. As far as a run back goes, who would you target there on the Purdue side?
I mean, David Bell's going to be the guy everyone does, but if you really want to get tricky, I mean, this Anthrop guy, I mean, 4,200, he's got a bunch of work the last 2 weeks. Let me pull it up here. He's got, let me see. He's got five rushing attempts both weeks, 6 receptions both weeks for 4,200. And that was in games they were winning. Well, what's going to happen if they get down? They can throw a bunch of dump offs to him, give him some work inside the red zone. I mean, 4,200, I think he is great salary relief. And you can play O'Connell too. I mean, the quarterback's super cheap. So I think you can full game stack it.
I like it. And speaking of, I guess, targetable DFS games, I know you like some players from the DFS side in the Penn State game. And I know Allie has a play, which, might be somewhat obvious at this point in that game as well. Maybe Tony,
you may shock the world and just go the opposite direction on us or something. Be like Lee Corso, take off the jersey, and she's got like a freaking Michigan jersey.
Like a Harbaugh shirt on.
Yeah, exactly. You never know.
Maybe talk, Tony, on who you like in that game, because that's probably going to be – we talked on a contrarian stack, which first of all, I find it crazy that you can get Ohio State. Like, you can stack that team today at super low ownership. But the game where I think you might even get less ownership, stacking Penn State, is that something you're into today?
I love Penn State today. So those of you that haven't checked out over on the DFS side, I put my player pool up on Saturdays recently. You can see all the players I'm playing, my stacks, and the Penn State stack's definitely one of them. You got Clifford is still super cheap, and Dotson, maybe the best receiver in the country, 8,800, which is expensive. No one's going to play him against Michigan. So much upside. I mean, the dude just went for 200. What did he go for last week? He went for, of course, I pull up the wrong one. He went for 242 yards, 11 catches, 242 yards, 3 touchdowns. The week before against Ohio State, 11 for $127. I mean, just monster upside at no ownership. And I love that. You can even play a couple of those other guys, like Parker Washington's had some big games. This Lambert Smith looks decent at 3,900. And then, I mean, on the Michigan side, they want to run the ball. So you just go with a guy like Haskins, because I'm pretty sure the other guy, Corum, is going to sit today. So that's another angle to this game. I mean, they've always had the 2 monster. Yeah, in the chat, they just said Corum is out today officially. So they've always had this 2-headed monster, though, Michigan at running back. They love to pound them. One of them is out today. Yeah, it just in the Discord chat, they just posted Corum is officially out. So it's Hassan Haskins, and he is awesome. So it makes it even easier to stack the game. He gets all the work. I love it. I like Penn State to score points, but I think Michigan will hang around too with that running game.
Cool. And Allie, your home squad. You got any thoughts? On the game?
Yeah, so it may be a bit of a homer bet, but Michigan is one of the chalkiest bets on the entire day, and I like my Nittany Lions as a small dog. I have Penn State money line plus 105. excluding Wisconsin, Penn State they've had one of the toughest schedules in the Big Ten, in my opinion. They've only had one bad loss, dare I say, to Illinois. I don't want to relive that, but they played 4 ranked team opponents going 2-2. Michigan has played just one at Michigan State where they lost. They are 1-1 if you count the Wisconsin win, but they weren't ranked when they played Michigan. Clifford looked back to full health versus Maryland, and his success today is crucial to Penn State grabbing a dub. His ability to extend players should frustrate the Michigan defense, But Harbaugh also historically over his Michigan tenure finds ways to lose these big games.
Yeah, I was going to mention. I didn't want to interject there. I mean, Tony, Harbaugh. I'd argue the one Wisconsin win this year for them was a surprise because those are the games he's always lost. But it's kind of coming out that Wisconsin's probably not as good as maybe we thought earlier in the year. I mean, they're okay, but they're definitely not great. This is another big game that Harbaugh consistently has lost over his Michigan tenure. What's your thoughts on the game? I mean, I'm definitely on the Penn State side myself, but what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Penn State is one of my favorite plays of the day. I love it. I mean, just go down Michigan's list. They beat Indiana. They lost to Michigan State. Northwestern's awful. They beat them. I mean, Nebraska isn't any good. They beat them by 3. They beat Wisconsin, which was a good win at the time. But like you said, Wisconsin's nothing special. Barely beat Rutgers. Pounded a couple bad northern teams. Western Michigan. I'm not impressed. I'm never impressed with these Harbaugh teams. They run the ball too much. It's a huge game for Penn State, and I love it. I'm on board with Allie because I think Penn State's definitely one of my favorite plays of the day, and DFS wise. So I'm going to be all in with her.
So I guess let's slide to. We'll talk a little more DFS, and then I'll give my final best bet that I like for today. Then maybe we'll take some questions if people have them. DFS wise, what do you like so running back to me looks like the toughest position on the slate today to figure out. I think you can make wide receivers work pretty easily. I think you have so many good options at quarterback. Running back's a little interesting though, especially when you talk about price points and points per dollar. What are you thinking there on the running back side, Tony?
So I think roster construction is one of the easiest it's been all year this year, just because all the good quarterbacks. I mean, we talked about Stroud being low owned because he's expensive. The rest of these guys I like are cheap. I mean, Tua's brother, Towie or whatever he goes by, is going to be like mega chalk today. 5,900 against Michigan State, who is the worst pass defense in all of freaking football, probably even worse than high school teams. Can't stop anyone. So he's going to be very popular, and those receivers at Maryland are super cheap. So naturally, you're going to have a lot of salary at running back. The other quarterbacks that I like, though, are cheap too. I mean, Clifford's cheap. Thorne from Michigan State's cheap. O'Connell, I talked about, is cheap. We're going to talk about Tennessee in a minute. Hooker is cheap. Stroud's the only expensive quarterback I like at all. So if we're going down at quarterback, and a lot of the receivers are pretty cheap too, even the Ohio State guys we talked about, it just lets you go up at running back. And these guys at the top today are just monsters. I mean, Breece Hall, Deuce, I don't like him today at 9,700, but he's still a monster. Kenneth Walker in the Michigan State game just continues to put up big numbers, 8,900. Braylon Allen for Wisconsin. The other dude is out there, so he's going to get all the work, just like Haskins for Michigan, going to get all the work. And, I mean, all those guys, Knighton, it should be in for a monster game. The only cheap guy at running back I got is this Dylan Johnson, who continues to get just a ton of pass work. He's 3,900, and the last couple of weeks, 5 receptions, 4 receptions, 5 receptions. He's getting 7 to 10 carries too. I mean, 3,900 for that. Great value if you want a cheap guy. Great floor too. I'm not saying he has the highest ceiling, but for 3,900, if it makes everything else work, I'm in on him. So I only have 6 or 7 running backs even in my player pool today.
Yeah, I think that's what makes college so fun, right? With all the big blowouts and how players can just absolutely smash at low prices. I think I agree with you. That Maryland chalk's going to be pretty heavy today, especially as you look at some of the player pricing there. Okay, so I could slide into, I guess, to mix it up a bit, I could slide into probably my favorite bet of the day, to be honest. Notre Dame and Virginia. Virginia, semi close to the heart. Father lives in Virginia, bunch of people went to Virginia in the family. I can promise you they'll be rooting in arms today. I actually like this game over. I think, first of all, Notre Dame is going to see quite a passing attack today from Virginia. And Virginia, behind Armstrong, they play super fast. Like this, Tony, this offense kind of came out of nowhere at the pace they run, how many yards because Armstrong's always been that dual threat quarterback. And I'm sure you know from DFS, he's basically been money when he's under 7K. And this year he's taken his game up to a whole nother level. But their offense just hums. They don't really care who they play. They'll throw the ball on anybody. And Notre Dame's defense is a bit overrated anyway. And Notre Dame's offense, if there's one thing they've proven, is that they can score against bad defenses. And Virginia's defense is absolutely terrible. I mean, I think, was it BYU that put up like 80 on them or 70 on them? And Notre Dame, to me, is a very similar offense. I'm not saying Notre Dame's going to put up 80 today or 70, but they're definitely going to move the sticks all day. And Virginia should speed them up with their pace. And Notre Dame by no means plays slow. They're happy to shoot out with teams kind of like Ohio State is. I think it's a super low number based on recent gameplay. I think people look at a team like Notre Dame and they see good defense and, they see them wanting to slow the game down. But everybody Virginia plays, it ends up being a borderline shootout. So I think and the new number now, I think, is down to 64. 63. Yeah, I mean, to me, I really like the spot. So Notre Dame, Notre Dame versus Virginia over 63. What are your thoughts on that game, Tony? Because I know that leaks into your late slate for DFS. What do you think in that one, if anything?
Yeah, I mean, Virginia is like one of the most polarizing DFS teams, kind of like you talked about, where they got that same system that my boy Taysom used to have in college, where he just crushed at BYU. And I don't know. I think this quarterback sucks, but he's so good DFS-wise. I mean, when he throws, I cringe. Me and Bruce talk about it every week in the DFS side. I make fun of him. It's almost like the Lamar Jackson of the NFL effect, where I make fun of him all game. I don't think he's any good, and he ends up with a ton of fantasy points a lot of the games. But Notre Dame, I mean, I don't think they can really slow down Virginia, and I know for sure Virginia's not going to slow them down. So to your point, I got to be on board with you. I mean, the over 63, I don't see how it stays under. The only way I think it stays under, Dunkel, is if Virginia doesn't move the ball, if Notre Dame's defense steps up and they just get the job done. So I don't think they will, though. I think Virginia will be able to move the ball.
And to go back to the Penn State game, I know, Tony, you said you were big on Dotson. Prop 76.5 yards. Got to figure Allie's on board as well. First of all, I think he's like legitimate NFL talent. I mean, you don't say that often about wide receivers in college. This kid is so good. As it relates to today, though, seems like a decent-sized number against a good squad. What do you think?
I don't even see – I mean, that feels like a layup to me. Like, I don't see any way he doesn't go over that. Take the free cheese, Bob Ski 2323. Allie needs to get that bet in, too. She needs to fire that on the account.
Yeah.
I gave her a loser the other night with the Clippers, so she's got to redeem herself and get that 25 back with Dotson.
Most definitely. We'll talk on Georgia, Tennessee in a quick moment. I think the guys in live chat, feel free to ask any other questions on any other games. We will talk on Georgia, Tennessee here now. And again, any other games we haven't covered, feel free to ask about them. We'll cover. Georgia, Tennessee is an interesting one. Tennessee's getting decent love here with, the spread's 20.5. When I say they're getting decent love, it's because the betting market's giving them decent love at this number. Georgia's been an historically good defense all season long. Do we think Tennessee can hang around? And from a DFS perspective, anything there, Tony?
Yeah, I mean, I'm huge on Tennessee today, which is weird because I don't usually play tough spots like this. I haven't played a player against Georgia all year, I don't think. Georgia just keeps smothering people. So I was gonna just bet Tennessee, even money line. I don't hate them. I think they're gonna hang around. I really do think this game will be way closer than the 20. But talking pre-show, Dunkel got me on a sharper bet. I think. What'd you say it was, Dunkel? 24.5 the team, or 17.5 the team total. When I look back at their scores, I mean, they put up 45 against Kentucky, 24 at Bama in a tough. Obviously, I think Bama's still probably better than Georgia, or at least coin flip. I mean, they're 24 at Bama, 26 versus Ole Miss, 45 South Carolina, 62 Mizzou, only 14 at Florida. But this game's at home. I mean, they're just scoring points at a crazy rate. So if it's only 17.5, instead of taking the 20, I'll just bet the over, because if this game stays low scoring, I think that is good for Georgia. If they score, though, which I think it will, I think Hooker and these receivers are good, man. Velus Jones, Cedric Tillman, Javonte Payton, these guys are good. I think they're going to be able to score points. I really do. So I'll take the over, and I'm going to throw a little sprinkle on the money line. I'm going to come on this show and throw a shocker out. I think Tennessee will have a chance to win this football game today as a 20-point underdog.
Awesome. Yeah, I like that. I think that the team total definitely, to me, makes more sense than betting them with the spread, only because
plus 100 on DK too. You just posted.
Yeah, Georgia's going to get their points today. So if you like Tennessee, I think you like them because you think they're going to score. So I think that makes sense that to go that route. Now, Allie, how long ago you went to Penn State? So how long ago was that?
No, I didn't go to Penn State. My whole family went to Penn State except me. I went to Temple. Go Owls. But
well, PA action. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
But so I am a bigger Penn State fan than a Temple fan. So.
Okay. So Temple, you went there when, I guess, who was there? Was that PJ Walker, Robbie Anderson?
Yes,
we
had PJ Walker. There was a point too where in his college career he wanted to go by Philip Walker, but I guess now he's back to PJ.
Yeah, I guess so. And he's starting right tomorrow, Tony?
Yes,
I think so. Yeah. I didn't even know he went there.
Yes, he went to Temple.
Yeah, him and Slobby Robbie.
Robbie went there too.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Who else? They had one other receiver too, right? Robbie Anderson.
Robbie Anderson was big with Walker. I think they had another. I thought they had another.
They had another NFL guy.
They had a big running back who got drafted.
Tyler Matakevich was there as well.
Who?
Okay. Tyler Matakevich plays for the Bills now. He was on the Steelers, but
that's a name drop. I hadn't even heard of him.
You've never heard of him?
I'm curious.
She keeps up with the defensive players. Dude's a linebacker.
Yeah, she likes the defense. That's a hidden tip.
You absolutely love to see it. Yeah, that's true too. Matt Rule was there, right?
Matty Rule, yes. And then he left us so my freshman year was the big victory over Penn State. Then we had college game day with Notre Dame. But unfortunately that was that was.
So Temple beat Penn State?
My freshman year of college, yes.
You had to love that.
Yeah, that must have been fun Thanksgiving.
And you know what? I still kick myself till this day because I left in the fourth quarter to go to the American Music Festival. I know.
So, Allie, people that come on the show for the first time, I always ask this question: how do you like your coffee? Because there are some real crazy fucking people out there that drink coffee in weird ways. Coffee is a big staple of my life, big staple of most people's lives. How do you do your coffee?
I feel I'm like afraid to answer this because I don't like coffee. I drink tea.
Jesus fucking Christ! I mean, this is like,
you want to know the hot take too? I'm gonna pile. I've never had coffee in my life.
Oh my! I mean, this is like me doing the show with two antichrists. I mean,
I at least tried coffee. He's a little.
I've never even had it. It's I like Mountain Dew in the morning.
I mean, I never took a shit until I drank coffee. I mean, it just kind of moves things along. I don't understand. I don't understand how people live. And where's Uncle T? Uncle T's always in the chat. I mean,
there's no way Uncle T drinks coffee. First of all, that dude he eats pizza, chicken, and pasta. There's no way that dude has ever had coffee. Yeah, there's no coffee or tea. Yeah, there's no way Uncle T.
I mean, if it wasn't like Allie's first show, you both would have been already booted from the show. I mean,
Allie hasn't seen that move on the StreamYard where he can just ship people off.
Oh no!
It happens all the time on these shows, Allie.
I would have done it. I would have booted her when she said she didn't drink coffee, but I don't know how she would have even reacted.
You'd been by yourself after I said it, though. We would have both been off. It would have been back to the
I would have been FaceTiming Big T. What's going on here?
Yeah, it would have been very hurtful. Drinking our tea on our FaceTime by ourselves.
Yeah.
Is Tony, from a DFS perspective, is there anything else you want to cover or games you want to cover? Because chat's been a little light today. No questions on games. I'd hate to end the show early, folks, but nobody's asking questions. Tony, anything else on the DFS end?
I think the DFS side is super easy. Like I said, just check out my player pool on the site though. And yeah, I mean, there's really only a few games I'm going to. The Maryland game, I think, is the obvious game, just because, like I said, Tua's brother, 2 cheap receivers, very easy build, and then you got Kenneth Walker, who goes for 200 yards every week, coming back, and Jaden Reed. Plenty of ways to go in that game. And then you got the Ohio State game Dunkel talked about. I like the over 2. I like the Purdue run backs that we talked about. So that's 2 games. And then the 2 sneaky stacks are my other ones. The Clifford, I like that game. Hooker, I like that game from Tennessee. But no, I mean, it's a pretty cut and dry week for me as far as DFS. So Penn State's going to ship for us, though. I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
30 minutes.
Most definitely. Now, Terrell Russell asked about Baylor. I'll tell you this on Baylor. It really depends on what you think. I know it sounds cliche, but it really depends on what you think of Oklahoma. There's a lot of people that think this team's overrated. And Baylor's proven to be a good squad. It is tough to win in Waco for any team. I don't know. I just feel like with Caleb Williams at the helm, this team is just better. I don't know why he was benched early in the year for Spencer Rattler. But with that said, slight lean Baylor plus the points, but I don't love it by any means. Again, I think right now it's baked into the market that Oklahoma's overrated, and I think that's why it's a small line here. So I don't love it in either direction, but if I was going to bet it, gun to my head, I'd play Baylor. Also, Tony, by the way, people lost some respect for you with that coffee take. I mean, Allie's still new to all this, so people probably are on the fence. But you lost a few fans with that coffee take.
I know. I try to keep it honest with the people, though. So, I mean, if they don't love me through my bad takes, they can't love me through my good takes.
I mean,
I do like lattes. I have to state that.
So you drink lattes, but not coffee?
No, I won't.
I believe is a latte espresso and milk, or is that that's a macchiato?
Steamed milk, Okay.
Nothing
beats a pumpkin spice latte.
Oh God, another pumpkin fan. Oh God, my life would be completely fine without pumpkin anything.
Oh.
You were spending some quality time in the pumpkin patch the last couple of weeks, I guarantee. Leading up to that wedding, I guarantee there were some pictures taken in a patch.
Yeah, I'm such a pussy. After this, I have to run out and get I have to drive 30 minutes to get heels fixed. I'm such a pussy. But it is we all have our crosses to bear. And I think Stevie chimed in saying he's drinking beer this morning, not coffee. I mean, nice. Do you expect any less from Stevie?
I mean, Stevie gets tanked on freaking Saturdays. I know that.
I picture Stevie's blood alcohol levels like over 0.08.
Stevie needs to get a haircut too. I seen him posting pictures with his boy Osimo again last night. You got too much hair, Stevie. You need to get a little lettuce cut.
He's got a mop, and it's kind of getting uncomfortable.
Did you see it too? It's a big mop.
Yeah, Stevie from the Run Pure team. Get a haircut. Okay.
Stevie, you need a little 40 spot. I'll Venmo you 40 to get that lettuce taken care of.
I'll jump on board with Tony. You can earn yourself $40 by getting a haircut today.
Yep.
Okay, so I think we had a question on FSU Miami. So I will say this: Florida State. If you're still betting Florida State games, do less drugs, because this team from week to week is almost impossible to predict. I know that ex-Memphis head coach has done a decent job with this squad, especially with how they started. But you just never know what you're going to get from this team week to week. And Miami, I'd argue, is pretty similar as well. Florida State does play good defense. I do believe if this game plays low scoring, I think it's a huge advantage for Florida State. If this game shoots out, it's a huge advantage for Miami. So it's just a matter of how you think tempo-wise this game plays out. But overall, call it a slight lean in favor of the under for me at 61, because I do think it plays slower than this number at 61. But gun in my head, that would be my play. But no true conviction there from me. And as for Ole Miss, because I know we just got that question there. Isn't this total super low? So I know, Tony, you haven't looked at. I assume you haven't looked at the. I think that's the night game, right?
Yeah, it's a night game. I haven't looked too much at it. What's the number?
So the total is 57, which has got to be like the lowest total.
Who are they even playing?
A&M, I think. Is it A&M?
Oh, yeah. I'm not a huge Ole Miss fan. They looked really good and explosive early in the year. I don't know. I'm not a huge believer though. I kind of like the other side of that game. The A&M. A&M likes to run the ball too. I think they could really control that game, which it maybe explains the lower total too.
I can't believe Matt Corral's like at the top of people's QB boards, right?
Yeah.
Like to me, that's unbelievable. The dude plays in an offense that's scripted to throw in gigantic windows. I just don't see.
He doesn't look good when I watch him. Like as far as like NFL, college, he looks great. NFL, I don't see the transition at all.
Yeah, huge down year for teams that need a quarterback in the NFL because there's just not going to be a lot. I think the Willis kid from Liberty is a top prospect.
Yeah, and I don't get that either. You watch him, and it's like, what? I just don't get it.
Yeah, he plays under Hugh Freeze, who runs that spread offense again. It's just like these offenses, it's just you're throwing into big windows. It's not what the NFL's like, and it's hard for these guys to make adjustments. But yeah, that'll be a wrap. Allie, go Nittany Lions today.
We are.
I'll be on it with you with Tony as well. And Tony, thanks for chiming in on the DFS end. And then of course I gave 2 bets as well. Tony gave his best bet for Tennessee, their team total. So yeah, overall good show. As always, folks. Thanks for watching. Be sure to gamble responsibly. We'll be checking in a little later. Thanks again, as always. Stay safe and talk to you guys soon.